Imagine a dimly lit upper room in Jerusalem. The air is heavy with anticipation. The disciples gather around Jesus, their master, their rabbi, the one they have followed for 3 years. They have seen him perform miracles, teach with authority, and challenge the religious elite. But tonight is different. Tonight carries a weight they cannot yet fully comprehend. Jesus looks around the table, his gaze lingering on each of them. There's love in his eyes, but also sorrow. "I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer," he says. The disciples exchange glances, confused. Suffer? What does he mean? As they partake in the traditional Passover meal, Jesus does something unexpected. He takes the bread, blesses it, breaks it, and gives it to them. "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." The disciples take the bread, still unsure of the full significance of his words. Then, he takes the cup of wine, gives thanks, and offers it to them. "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." A hush falls over the room. A new covenant? His blood? The disciples had grown up celebrating the Passover, remembering how God delivered their ancestors from slavery in Egypt. But now Jesus is pointing to a greater deliverance, one that will come through his own sacrifice. And then, an even greater shock. Jesus' voice turns solemn. "One of you will betray me." The room erupts in murmurs. Betray him? Who would do such a thing? They start questioning each other, and even themselves. "Surely not I, Lord." Even Judas, the betrayer himself, asks the question, playing his part in the unfolding drama. But Jesus knows. He has always known. He looks at Judas with a sorrowful love. "What you are about to do, do quickly." And with that, Judas slips into the night, his heart already sold to the religious leaders for 30 pieces of silver. The atmosphere in the room is tense, but Jesus does not dwell on the betrayal. Instead, he gives them a new commandment. "Love one another as I have loved you." This is not just a suggestion, it's a calling. He knows what lies ahead, and he wants them to remain united. Then, turning to Peter, Jesus delivers yet another shocking revelation. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter is incredulous. "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death." But Jesus simply gives him a knowing look. As the meal comes to an end, Jesus leads them in a hymn, and they depart for the Mount of Olives. The night is not over. In fact, it has only just begun. The final hours of Jesus are now set in motion, and nothing will ever be the same again. The night is heavy with silence as Jesus and his disciples arrive at the Garden of Gethsemane. The moon casts pale light over the ancient olive trees, their twisted branches swaying slightly in the night breeze. The air is cool, but inside Jesus, a storm is raging. He turns to his disciples and speaks in a voice unlike the one they are used to. It is strained, filled with an anguish they have never heard before. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." The disciples nod, but they don't fully grasp the weight of his words. They have never seen him like this before. Jesus walks a little farther, his steps unsteady. He falls to his knees, pressing his face to the ground. "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will but yours be done." The words tremble in the night air. He knows what is coming. The betrayal, the pain, the humiliation, the wrath of God poured out upon him. It is almost unbearable. Sweat drips from his brow like drops of blood. The agony is not just physical, it is spiritual. The weight of the world's sin is pressing down on him, a burden no human could ever carry. And yet he does not run, he does not fight. He surrenders. He rises and returns to his disciples only to find them sleeping. "Couldn't you keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asks Peter, his voice filled with disappointment. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He goes back to pray a second time. "Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." His hands clench the earth beneath him, but his heart is set. He knows this is the reason he came. Once more he returns to find his disciples asleep. They do not understand the battle he is fighting. They do not see the spiritual war waging around them. For the third time, Jesus prays, his surrender now complete. Father, may your will be done. As he rises, his face is set like flint. The time has come. In the distance, torches flicker. The sound of approaching footsteps fills the air. The betrayer is near. The final hours of Jesus are unfolding, and there is no turning back. The quiet of Gethsemane is shattered by the sound of approaching footsteps. Flickering torches cast eerie shadows across the trees as a group of soldiers and temple guards, led by the chief priests and elders, march toward Jesus. At the front of the mob stands Judas Iscariot. His face is partially hidden by the dim light, but there is no mistaking his purpose. His heart pounds, not with love, but with treachery. Jesus stands still, his face calm, though his eyes seem to pierce through the darkness. He has been expecting this moment. He knew it would come. The weight of what he has just prayed about, the suffering, the sacrifice, has not passed, and yet he does not flinch. Judas steps forward, his hand trembling slightly as he reaches for Jesus. The disciples watch confused. This is their friend, their brother, one who has walked with them for years. But there is something different about him now, something dark. Then, with a forced smile, Judas leans in and presses a kiss to Jesus' cheek. "Rabbi," he whispers. Jesus does not recoil. Instead, he looks directly into Judas's eyes, his voice steady but filled with sorrow. "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" The words hang in the air, cutting through the noise of rustling leaves and shifting feet. For a brief moment, Judas hesitates, but the deal has been made. 30 pieces of silver now weigh heavily in his pocket. There is no turning back. Suddenly, chaos erupts. The soldiers step forward to seize Jesus, and in an instant, Peter draws his sword. The blade flashes in the torchlight before slashing through the ear of Malchus, the high priest's servant. Blood spills onto the ground. The guards recoil, momentarily stunned, but Jesus raises his hand. "No more of this." His voice is commanding, yet filled with grace. He reaches out, touching Malchus's wound, and in an instant, the ear is restored. The soldiers, already shaken, exchange uneasy glances. "Who is this man?" Then Jesus turns to Peter. "Put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." His voice is firm but gentle, his message clear. This battle is not to be fought with violence. Then he speaks words that send a shiver through those gathered. "Do you think I cannot call on my Father? And he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels. But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled?" The weight of his words sinks in. This is not defeat. This is a willing surrender. He is choosing to be taken. The soldiers, emboldened by his submission, step forward again, binding Jesus' hands as if he were a common criminal. The disciples watch, frozen in shock. Then, in a moment of fear and weakness, they do the unthinkable. They flee. Jesus, left alone with his captors, is led away into the night. The long, dark path to Calvary has begun. Jesus is dragged through the cold night, his hands bound, his body already weary from the emotional and physical toll of his arrest. The guards shove him forward, their torches flickering against the ancient stone walls of Jerusalem as they lead him toward the house of Caiaphas, the high priest. Inside, the Sanhedrin, the ruling council of Jewish leaders, has hastily gathered. This is no ordinary trial. It is a mockery of justice, a proceeding held in secrecy under the cover of night, violating their own laws. But for them, this is a necessity. Jesus must be dealt with before the people awaken and interfere. As Jesus is forced into the room, the council members glare at him. Some whisper among themselves, others murmur false accusations under their breath. The high priest sits in his place of authority, his expression a mixture of anger and determination. He has wanted this for a long time. Then the parade of false witnesses begins. One by one, men step forward, spinning lies, twisting Jesus' words, hoping to find something, anything that can justify a death sentence. "This man said he would destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days," one of them shouts. Others nod, adding their own distortions. But Jesus remains silent. He does not argue, does not defend himself. His composure is unsettling. The room grows tense. The high priest leans forward, his patience wearing thin. "Are you not going to answer?" he demands. "What is this testimony these men are bringing against you?" Still, Jesus says nothing. The silence feels unbearable. His accusers shift uncomfortably. There is something about him, something unshaken, unbreakable. Finally, in frustration, Caiaphas stands and points directly at Jesus. His voice rises with authority. "I charge you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." A hush falls over the room, the moment everyone has been waiting for. Then, at last, Jesus speaks. His voice is steady, unwavering. "You have said it," he replies. "But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." The words send a shockwave through the council. Gasps echo against the walls. Caiaphas' face twists with rage. Without hesitation, he tears his robe, a dramatic symbol of outrage. "He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? You have heard it yourselves. What do you think?" The answer comes swiftly, cruelly. He is worthy of death. The guards, emboldened by the verdict, seize their opportunity. One of them steps forward and spits directly in Jesus' face. Another slaps him, his palm striking hard against his cheek. The room erupts in mockery. "Prophesy to us, Messiah. Who hit you?" They sneer. The blows continue. The ridicule intensifies. The Son of God, the innocent lamb, stands before them, taking every insult, every wound without resistance. His face, though bruised, still radiates a quiet strength. Outside, Peter watches from a distance, his heart pounding. He sees his Lord being humiliated, beaten. He wants to stay, but fear grips him. The night is not over yet, and the darkness is closing in. The trial has reached its conclusion, but the worst is still to come. Jesus is now at the mercy of his enemies, and they will show him none. The air is crisp in the courtyard of the high priest's house. Torches flicker, casting long dancing shadows against the cold stone walls. A small fire burns at the center, providing little warmth against the chilling night. Around it, a group of guards and servants are gathered, speaking in hushed tones, occasionally laughing, unaware that history is unfolding before them. Among them, trying to blend in, is Peter. His heart pounds. His hands tremble not just from the cold, but from the turmoil within. Hours ago, he had sworn his loyalty to Jesus. "Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you," he had said. But now the reality of the situation is sinking in. Jesus is inside, standing trial. Accusations are being hurled at him, and Peter knows the outcome will not be good. Fear grips him. A servant girl notices him. She studies his face in the flickering light, her brow furrowing. Then she speaks. You were with Jesus of Galilee, weren't you?" Peter's breath catches. Every eye turns toward him. He feels their stares, feels the weight of their suspicion. He knows what admitting the truth could cost him. His survival instincts take over. "I don't know what you're talking about," he mutters, shaking his head. The girl doesn't push further, but Peter doesn't feel safe. He quickly moves away from the fire, stepping into the shadows, hoping to disappear into the night. Time passes. The trial continues inside. Another person notices him, a man this time. He squints, nodding to himself. This man was with Jesus of Nazareth. Panic surges in Peter's chest. His stomach twists. He shakes his head more firmly this time. "I swear, I don't know the man," he says, louder now, his voice unsteady. He can hear his own heartbeat. He wants to run, but he knows that would only draw more attention. He needs to stay calm. He needs to make them believe him. Minutes drag by. He keeps his head down, hoping no one else will recognize him. But then the worst happens. A third person speaks up. "You must be one of them. Your accent gives you away. You're a Galilean." This time, Peter doesn't just deny, it's full desperation. He curses, swearing vehemently, his words laced with panic. "I don't know the man," he shouts, and then a sound cuts through the night. A rooster crows. The noise pierces through him like a blade. He freezes. His breath catches in his throat. Time slows. The words of Jesus echo in his mind, words spoken just hours ago. Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. His eyes dart toward the house, and for a fleeting moment through the open door he sees him, Jesus, beaten, bruised, standing before his accusers. But he isn't looking at them. He is looking at Peter. That gaze, full of sorrow, yet full of love, destroys him. It is not a look of condemnation, but one of painful understanding. Jesus knew. He always knew. Peter stumbles back, his breath ragged, his chest heaving. He turns and flees, running blindly into the night, his vision blurred with tears. He collapses, somewhere in the darkness, sobbing. The weight of his failure is crushing. The man who had walked on water, who had seen miracles with his own eyes, who had declared Jesus the Messiah, he had fallen. He had done the very thing he swore he would never do, and now all he can do is weep. The air in the Roman governor's palace is thick with tension. The sun is rising, casting a golden glow over the stone walls, but inside, the atmosphere is anything but warm. Jesus stands before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, surrounded by priests, soldiers, and a growing crowd. His hands are bound, his face swollen from the beatings he has already endured, yet his expression remains calm, unshaken. Pilate, a man accustomed to power, observes Jesus with a mixture of curiosity and frustration. He has dealt with rebels, zealots, and criminals before, but this man is different. There is no fear in his eyes, no desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, he stands there, silent, as the religious leaders hurl accusations at him. This man is misleading our nation, one of them shouts. He forbids paying taxes to Caesar and claims to be a king. Pilate raises an eyebrow. A king? He leans forward, studying Jesus carefully before speaking. Are you the king of the Jews? Jesus does not react in anger or defiance. He simply replies, "It is as you say." Pilate exhales, glancing at the restless crowd. This is a political trap. He knows it. The religious leaders don't care about Roman law. They care about silencing this man who threatens their power. But Pilate is not eager to play their game. He turns back to Jesus. Don't you hear the charges they are bringing against you? Still, Jesus remains silent. He does not beg. He does not defend himself. He does not accuse in return. Pilate is unsettled. This is not the behavior of a guilty man, nor of a revolutionary. He steps away from his seat and paces. If Jesus is truly innocent, executing him would be an injustice. But if he is guilty of treason, releasing him could mean riots or worse, trouble with Rome. Then an idea. A way out. Every year during the Passover festival, the governor releases one prisoner to the people. It is a tradition meant to appease the crowds. And at this moment, Pilate has 2 prisoners before him. Jesus, the so-called king of the Jews, and Barabbas, a convicted murderer and insurrectionist. Surely, given the choice, the people will choose Jesus. Pilate steps forward and raises his voice over the growing murmur of the crowd. Whom do you want me to release to you? Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Christ? The religious leaders move swiftly, whispering among the people, spreading their influence like poison in the air. The crowd shifts, the energy darkens. Then the chant begins. Barabbas! Give us Barabbas! Pilate's stomach tightens. He did not expect this. He raises his hand, signaling for silence. Then what shall I do with Jesus, who is called the Christ? The response is immediate, deafening. Crucify him. Pilate's throat goes dry. He glances at Jesus once more. He still does not plead. He does not panic. He simply waits. Pilate clenches his jaw. He does not want this. He knows Jesus is innocent, but he also knows that resisting the will of the crowd could lead to an uprising, something Rome will not tolerate. His power, his career, even his own life could be at stake. Then, as if to confirm his growing unease, a messenger rushes in, pressing a note into his hand. It is from his wife. Have nothing to do with this righteous man, it reads, for I have suffered much in a dream because of him. Pilate looks back at the crowd, now a roaring sea of anger and demand. His mind races. He cannot risk a rebellion. He cannot risk his own position. He calls for a basin of water. In front of them all, he dips his hands in, letting the cool liquid run over his fingers. He raises them, dripping for all to see. I'm innocent of this man's blood, he declares. See to it yourselves. And with that he gives the order. The crowd erupts in cheers. Barabbas is released. Jesus is handed over to the soldiers. As they drag him away, Pilate watches, his stomach twisted in knots. He had the power to stop this. He had the power to do what was right. But in the end, politics won over justice. The air is thick with cruelty. The soldiers laugh, their voices echoing through the stone corridors of the Roman barracks. In the center of the room, Jesus stands, his hands bound, his body already bruised from the beatings he has endured. But this is only the beginning. A Roman centurion steps forward, holding a whip in his hands. This is no ordinary whip. It is the dreaded flagrum, a brutal instrument of torture with leather strands embedded with sharp pieces of bone and metal. The soldier smirks, testing its weight before lashing it across Jesus' back. The first strike lands with a sickening crack. Jesus' body jerks, but he does not scream, he does not beg for mercy. The soldiers exchange glances, amused and intrigued. Most prisoners break after the first few lashes, pleading, sobbing, cursing. But not him. The whip falls again, and again. With each lash, the metal and bones sink into his flesh, tearing skin, exposing muscle. Blood splatters onto the cold stone floor, pooling beneath him. Yet he remains standing. His legs tremble, but he does not fall. By the time they reach 39 lashes, the maximum allowed under Roman law, Jesus' back is an unrecognizable mass of torn flesh and open wounds. His breathing is ragged, each inhale a struggle, but his eyes remain steady. Yet the soldiers are not satisfied. One of them, perhaps inspired by the charge against Jesus that he claims to be a king, grabs a piece of purple cloth. He throws it over Jesus' shoulders, the fabric sticking to the blood on his back. Another soldier picks up a bundle of thorns, weaving them into a crude circle. With a mocking grin, he presses it onto Jesus' head. The thorns dig into his scalp, piercing deep, sending fresh rivulets of blood down his face. The soldiers burst into laughter, clapping each other on the back as they bow mockingly before him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" one of them sneers, spitting at his feet. Another soldier takes a wooden staff and places it in Jesus' hands as if it were a royal scepter. Then, with a sudden movement, he rips it away and smashes it against Jesus' head. The thorns press in deeper. Jesus staggers, but still, he does not retaliate. He does not curse them. He does not protest. The soldiers continue their mockery, slapping him, spitting on him, kneeling before him in cruel imitation of reverence. To them, he is nothing more than a joke, a fool who dared to challenge the might of Rome and the authority of the religious leaders. Minutes pass, perhaps longer. Finally, they grow bored. The game is over. The laughter fades. One of them rips the purple robe from Jesus' shoulders. The blood that had dried against the fabric tears away with it, reopening wounds, sending fresh waves of pain through his body. A centurion steps forward, expression unreadable. He gives the final order. It's time. And so, with his body broken, his dignity stripped away and his head crowned with thorns, Jesus is led away to carry his cross. The journey begins. Jesus, his body already broken, is forced to bear the weight of the very instrument of his execution. The Roman soldiers shove him forward, and the heavy wooden cross is placed upon his torn and bleeding shoulders. The rough wood presses against his back, grinding into the open wounds left by the lashes. Every step is agony. The road to Calvary is not smooth or straight. It winds through the crowded streets of Jerusalem, where people have gathered to watch the condemned man's final march. Some stare in silence, their expressions unreadable. Others jeer, laughing, mocking him just as the soldiers had. "Look at him, the King of the Jews." One man sneers, his voice laced with scorn. Another spits on him while a few throw small stones. The soldiers do nothing to stop them. To them, this is just another execution, another criminal getting what he deserves. Jesus stumbles. His knees buckle beneath the weight of the cross, and he falls onto the dirt road. Dust and blood mix on his face as he gasps for breath. The soldiers bark at him to rise, but his body does not respond. The pain is too great, the burden too heavy. A centurion glances around and spots a man in the crowd, Simon of Cyrene. He is a foreigner, an outsider, merely a spectator. But today, he will be pulled into the story. The soldier grabs Simon's arm and yanks him forward. "You! Carry the cross!" Simon hesitates, looking at Jesus, this beaten, broken man who has been condemned to die. He does not protest. He does not fight back. He simply obeys, lifting the cross from Jesus' shoulders, relieving him, if only slightly, from the crushing weight. Jesus does not thank him with words, but there is something in his eyes, a silent gratitude, a quiet strength that speaks more than words ever could. With Simon carrying the cross, Jesus is able to continue. His feet drag, his breaths are shallow, but he moves forward. The women in the crowd watch in horror. Some weep openly, their cries piercing through the noise of the jeering mob. One woman, her face streaked with tears, reaches out to him. It is Veronica. She presses a cloth to his face, wiping away the blood and sweat. It is a small act of kindness, but it means everything in this moment. Jesus looks at the women who mourn for him, and with a voice hoarse from suffering, he speaks, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep for yourselves and for your children." His words carry a warning, a prophecy of what is to come. But the women can only weep. Step by step, the journey continues. The hill of Golgotha looms ahead, a place of death, a place where criminals breathe their last. The crowd follows, eager to witness the final act of this brutal spectacle. Jesus, exhausted beyond human limits, stumbles once more. This time he does not rise on his own. The soldiers grab him, dragging him forward, the end now in sight. The cross is waiting. The nails are waiting. The suffering is not yet over. The moment has arrived. Atop the barren hill of Golgotha, Jesus stands before the instrument of his death, the cross that he has carried through the streets of Jerusalem. His body, already torn and broken, trembles with exhaustion. The soldiers waste no time. They shove him down onto the wooden beams, his back scraping against the rough surface. The crowd gathers, some filled with hatred, others with sorrow, but all watching intently. A soldier approaches, holding a hammer in one hand and a long iron nail in the other. He kneels beside Jesus' right arm, placing the nail against his wrist. The first strike echoes through the air, a sickening crack as metal pierces flesh, driving into the wood. Jesus cries out, his body convulsing in pain. Another strike, and another. The nail is buried deep. Blood drips down his arm, staining the cross beneath him. The process repeats for his left hand. Another wave of agony courses through him as the nail is driven through his wrist, pinning him in place. His fingers twitch involuntarily, muscles torn and nerves exposed, but it is not over. The soldiers move to his feet, placing one over the other. Their final, massive nail is pressed against the top of his feet, and then strike. His body jolts as the metal pierces through both feet, embedding itself deep into the cross. The pain is beyond comprehension. Every breath is a battle, every movement sends searing agony through his limbs. With a brutal yank, the soldiers lift the cross upright. It sways for a moment before crashing into the hole dug for it, jolting Jesus' body violently. His weight now hangs from the nails in his wrists, tearing at his flesh. Every breath is labored, each one requiring him to push against the nail in his feet just to lift his chest. The crowd below watches. Some mock him, laughing at his suffering. He saved others, but he cannot save himself, one man shouts, shaking his head. "If you are the Son of God, come down from that cross," another sneers. But Jesus does not respond with anger. Instead, with a voice strained from agony, he speaks, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Even in unbearable pain, he offers mercy. Even as the nails rip through his body, his heart is filled with love. Below him, the soldiers gamble for his garments, throwing dice as if this were just another routine execution. The sky remains clear, the sun bearing down on the suffering. Christ! His breathing grows shallower, his body weakens, and yet he remains. To his right and left, two criminals hang on their own crosses. One joins in the mockery, hurling insults. "If you are the Christ, save yourself and us." But the other, through the pain, turns to Jesus. His voice is weak but sincere. "Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus, barely able to lift his head, looks at the man beside him. There is no condemnation in his eyes, only compassion. "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." In his final moments, even as his life fades, Jesus continues his mission to save, to forgive, to love. Below, among the crowd, stands Mary, his mother. Her face is streaked with tears as she watches her son suffer, unable to help him, unable to stop the horror unfolding before her. Beside her stands John, the beloved disciple. Jesus gathers what little strength remains. His voice, though faint, carries weight. "Woman, behold your son." Then, turning to John, he speaks again. "Behold your mother." In the midst of his suffering, he ensures that his mother is cared for, entrusting her to John. Hours pass. The agony intensifies. The sky begins to darken, an ominous shadow falling over the land. Jesus, barely clinging to life, lifts his eyes toward heaven. His lips part, and he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The weight of sin, the burden of humanity's brokenness, presses upon him. Yet even in this, his mission is not yet complete. With one final breath, he speaks the words that will change history forever. It is finished. His head falls forward. His body goes still. The earth trembles, the sky is black, and the world will never be the same again. The moment that history has been building toward has arrived. Jesus, the Son of God, the Messiah, the light of the world, now hangs lifeless upon the cross. His body, once full of strength and compassion, now sags in complete exhaustion. Blood drips from his wounds, the very life flowing out of him. The air is heavy, the silence deafening. The world itself seems to hold its breath. Then suddenly the earth trembles. A violent earthquake shakes the ground beneath Golgotha. The people cry out in terror, some falling to their knees as the land quakes beneath them. The sky, which had been dark for hours, remains black as night. The very fabric of creation groans at the death of its creator. And in the heart of the city, within the sacred walls of the temple, something unimaginable happens. The great veil, the massive curtain that separates the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple, is torn in two. Not from the bottom, as if by human hands, but from the top, as if the heavens themselves have split it apart. For centuries, this veil had symbolized the separation between God and humanity. Only the high priest, once a year, could pass beyond it to make atonement for the sins of the people. But now, in this moment, as Jesus breathes his last, that barrier is destroyed. The way to God is no longer blocked. The sacrifice has been made. Access to the Father is now open to all. Back at Golgotha, the Roman centurion, a hardened soldier who had witnessed countless executions, stands in awe. He had seen Jesus suffer. He had heard his words of mercy. He had felt the ground shake beneath his feet. And now, looking up at the lifeless body of the man on the cross, he whispers words that will echo through eternity. Truly, this man was the Son of God. The crowd that had gathered, some to mock, some to mourn, now begins to disperse. The spectacle is over. But something is different. There is a weight in the air, an unshakable sense that they have just witnessed something far greater than a mere execution. At the foot of the cross, a small group remains. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is still there, her body weak from grief. John, the beloved disciple, stands beside her, his heart shattered. The women who had followed Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Salome, and others, watch in silence, their faces streaked with tears. And then comes the question, what now? Jesus is dead. The one they had followed, the one they had believed in, the one who had healed the sick and raised the dead, he is gone. His final words still linger in the air. It is finished. But what did he mean? Is it truly the end? Even as his body hangs lifeless, the world shifts. The kingdom of darkness trembles. The weight of sin has been carried. The price has been paid. What seems like the end is actually a new beginning. But for now, all they can see is the cross. All they can feel is grief. And as the wind howls through the empty streets of Jerusalem, the world waits, because Sunday is coming.